We are celebrating the Energy Healing Weekend, and I am Dondi Dolan. Our Energy Healing Weekend is coming up next weekend, September 11th, 12th, and 13th. We have a bevy of amazing teachers for you. We are so excited. We have been putting this together for you. We have Jean Houston. We have Dawson Church. We have David Feinstein and Donna Eden, my mama. We have Madison King and Lee Harris. We have Marcela Lobos, and we have Junya Chu. And today I have the pleasure and privilege of being with Junya, and we're going to talk a little bit about what she is sharing during that weekend. So let me tell you about the weekend. A lot of summits are happening right now. Everyone has gone online and summits are very popular. They are events where you get a little tiny taste, like a little half hour from every teacher. This is not a summit. This is an intensive, comprehensive, incredible experience, truly a journey for you in your health of your body, your mind, your spirit. We're going deep with these teachers. We're going to climb into their wisdom, into their minds, and they're going to unfold all sorts of knowledge for us to take home, for you to take home. So join us for that weekend. It's 50% off right now, 50% off. So look in the comments. We have little angels and gnomes behind the scenes who are putting in the link, so you can click on that link. But right now, let's enjoy Junya. So first of all, hi, Junya.
Hi.
So happy you're with us today. Now, let me tell all of you, all of the viewers, about Junya. Junya has a doctorate in natural medicine. She has a background in touch for health. She is part of our Eden Energy Medicine family. She's an advanced practitioner and a teacher for us. We love Junya. But there's something else that's really curious. So when you read Junya's bio, it says Junya was raised by llamas. And that's not often that you see on a bio. The person was raised by llamas. You might see they were raised in China or they were raised in America, but raised by llamas. So Junya, here's what I picture. And this is probably the most ignorant, naive picture, but this is what comes to mind. Prayers, mantras, chanting, and silence. Is that what your upbringing was like? Tell us.
Um, yes, and I think the silence part was hardest for me as a child. But yes, I had a very special upbringing. I grew up with llamas. My life revolved around temple because my mother is a spiritual leader. And my dad supported her in all other ways. So he, from getting a license to be the volunteer bus driver to bus the llamas around here and there, to studying immigration law and policy to help with, all the influx of international llamas and volunteers that wanted to be near my mom and her teachings. So yes, I grew up with llamas, and I had llamas as my teachers growing up. So my math teachers were llamas, trigonometry, geometry, calculus. My meditation and philosophy teachers were llamas. Even my art and dance teachers were llamas. So a very amazing community.
Well, it is amazing. And I have seen the llamas on videos with you, and I know how close you are with them. And I also know that they have really blessed this weekend that we're having. They have given you blessing to teach some really sacred techniques, a water blessing and one called the takeout technique. Can you tell us a little bit about what you are sharing and what people who come to take your class might gain from your class and be able to take it on into their lives after the class is done?
Yes. So actually, I already know that there's a handful of them, international llamas and llamas in the States that are tuning into the conference as well. They heard that I was going to be in the conference and they're buying their own tickets, and they're, instead of buying one and everyone just viewing on a large screen, they wanted to support the organization. So they're each, they saved up and they're each doing to tune in individually. Um, I want to talk a little bit about the water blessing and a little bit of how that's mixed with my upbringing and how I'm going to be sharing that in the weekend, if that's okay. So, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Dondi, to Inner Source, and to a team. I don't know if a lot of people know there's a whole background of team to make all of these things possible. I'm going to give a shout out to Carrie, to Jeffrey, to Roger, to all the folks. And I remember when I first read the invitation by Inner Source to be one of the 9 speakers, I immediately knew it was a distinct honor. And I was very, very humbled. And honestly, one of the first things I did was I sat down, I took a deep breath, and I contemplated about my death. And I asked myself, if I were to die after this conference, like Junia, let's say 2.5 hours after this conference, you pop off, you're no longer, here. What is your life's greatest treasure? What is your life's greatest treasure that you could share on this last platform, on this last stage? What is something you could possibly share as your life's greatest treasure, as your last offering to the world, to all of you? And so one of the things that emerged is what I'll be sharing in next weekend. And I was born into spiritual healing and meditation. I don't think I even knew that it was a special type of medicine. I didn't even know the word spiritual or healing. I just thought it was what everybody did. It was natural. And I started learning about the water meditation that I'll be sharing. I started learning it when I was 3 or 4. And there's videos of me practicing it and learning how to imbue and imprint water with energy for people to drink to help with stomach pain, for example, to alleviate headaches. And my mom tells me that I was forming mudras as a baby before I could even talk or walk. And I still remember when I was around 8 or 9, adults would send in their requests that I weave and braid 5-colored threads while I visualize light, and that they would put on their wrists and ankles or around their waists for pain, for nightmares, for pregnancy, for good luck, for protection. And so all of this special upbringing in this amazing community has really impacted my life and shaped me to be who I am today. And so I would like to share a little bit about a story, a testimonial from someone. And I got permission from her to share this, of how one of the techniques that I'll be sharing next weekend impacted and changed her life. And I'll also have this sweet bonus for everybody tuning in today, something you can take away today, even before the conference. Is that all right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to have to take us back a few years ago. So every year, the county's Office of Education hosts this 3-part conference training for all the Northern California schools and youth and education professionals. And I'm invited each year to do mind body wellness training. And one year, a few years ago, after my talk was over, you ask people, does anybody have any questions? Nobody raises their hands. But after the talk is over, you have a long line of people waiting to ask their private questions. And so there was a line about maybe 10, 15 people. And there was a lady who came up. And my first impression of her was she looked very frail and very vulnerable. And it was like tears were she was going to start crying before we could even have a conversation of the question that she had. And so I just asked her, I was like, do you want to sit down? Do you want to just take a seat? So we turned around from the long group of people. We turned around and we just sat down on one of the university chairs. And I just asked her, is it okay if I hold your head for a moment? And so our energy medicine community, you know what this is, right? This is our main neurovasculars. So she's like, okay. And so I held her head, and that was when things started to happen. She started to cry. And it wasn't those like soft tears kind of crying. It was the loud, sobbing, wailing, unleashing kind of crying. It was like, and it started building louder, and it started building louder and louder. And her body started convulsing and spasming, and her limbs started stiffening. And so I said, take a nice deep breath, follow my voice, feel grounded, feel the floor and the chair beneath you supporting you. I'm right here with you. And I finally got her to hear my voice. And I started generating a field of compassion around us, because that's what she needed. And that's what I'll be sharing in this weekend too. And then I just said, what are you feeling right now? Tell me, what are you feeling right now? Sad. And she just said she felt sad. And I said, great. Because once you can name it, once you know it, you can work with it. And so I said, great. Where do you feel it in the body? And she took her like stiffening fingers and she thumped her chest. She's like, here. And she felt the sadness concentrating here. And I said, perfect. I want you to imagine the most pure, the most loving, compassionate light streaming down and shining down right now. What color is it? And she said, white. And I said, perfect. Bring in that white, loving, pure, compassionate light. Let it stream down your scalp, your spine, your whole body. Let it bless your heart. Let it spread and expand out your fingertips, out your toes. And that's when the next thing happened. That's when she said she felt like someone had turned on a fire hose and it was just flooding through her body. And everything dissipated and everything calmed down. The hyperventilating, wailing, calmed down and softened. The shaking completely eased out. And she just looked up at me. She's like, what just happened? My body has moved in ways it has never moved before. Like, what just happened? I said, oh, it's just energy shifting. You just needed a release. Your body was ready for it. And so I said, I'm going to teach you how to do this yourself. You're going to hold these points yourself when you go home, and you're just going to think of that compassionate energy and light filling every single cell in your body. That's your takeaway. And so she left. And when I turned around, the room was cleared. The room was empty. Everyone left by then. And I distinctly remember one of my assistants, she had come over and she was trying to get my attention. She's like, stop what you're doing. This is not the time and place for this. And she had come over trying to tell me to stop. And I was calmly nodding my head, trying to tell her with my face, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And she told me later that the room had cleared because everybody was so uncomfortable. They didn't know what was happening. It was a very professional setting. And I got into a little bit of trouble. They were saying, it was very inappropriate for me to do that. I should have just given a business card, and someone thought she was possessed by the demon. No one knew what was happening, right? One moment this lady was fine, and the next, and she's crying and shaking. What if you get sued? What if you lose your practice because of this? And so a lot of the logistics started pouring through afterwards, and I felt really bad, but I just kept responding. I said, but she needed this. She was ready for it. She was crying. I needed to help her, help herself. Like, this was the time to do it. I don't know. You never know if this will be the last time you'll be seeing someone. Even if you give a business card, you don't know if this may be your last opportunity with them. And so you just help them when you meet them, when you get that opportunity, when you cross paths. And fast forward a few months later after that incident, and I had a good scolding. I was invited to be a TA for one of Donna's events in the Bay Area. And this lady walks up to me with this bright smile and she goes, hello, do you remember me? And I said, no, I'm so sorry. I don't remember you. And she said, it's me. I'm that lady from that university conference you did. And I said, oh, it's you. I was like, your hair's longer. It looks good. And she's like, I just want to say thank you. And she just profusely said thank you and thank you and thank you. She says, you have no idea what you have done. You have changed my life. And she said, for the next 2-3 days after the conference, she cried every time she thought about me. And she wouldn't stop talking about it. She told all her friends and family. She said, I hope you don't find this creepy, but I started Google stalking you. I started looking up your background. Who is this person? She bought Donna's Energy Medicine for Women book. She read through the whole thing over Thanksgiving, and she called up her aunt, and her aunt's a teacher in another state. And now her aunt teaches those kids in the classroom some of the techniques. She's like, you have no idea how much you have impacted and changed my life. She said, I go around telling people, yeah, I met this lady named Junia. She touched my head and my life changed. And she said, can I be honest? I actually, that day, I didn't want to go to your session. They had given the schedule in advance, like we give our schedules for the conference, and she didn't circle my conference. That wasn't something she wanted to attend. But she does remember sitting in the parking lot that morning, asking the universe, guide my footsteps. She was going through a crisis in her life. And she just said, I'm going to trust the process. Universe, guide my footsteps and I will follow. And she said that it guided me into your room. And so she went on to do our 2-year certification program. She's an amazing practitioner. She tells me that she goes to get a haircut and she's teaching all the hairdressers and hairstylist techniques. She has a lovely daughter. She teaches her daughter. Every time before work, she goes in early and she collects a couple of colleagues and they meet in her office and they do the daily energy routine together before the workday starts. And I'm just amazed by how far she's taken this. And she didn't even know this is one of her callings. And it started from just heart to heart, just compassion. And one day she came up to me after all her foundation and fundamentals training. And she says, I just got to ask you, what did you do that day? Because I've learned all these techniques now. Is it neurovasculars? Was it electrics? Like radiance? Like what was it? Because I've never had the same sensation ever again. Like that was really potent. You did something else, didn't you? And I said, I did the techniques. And if I were to say I did one more thing, it would be one word. And she's like, what's that one word? I said, compassion. She's like, compassion. Huh. That's a technique. I said, if you want to call it that, you can. You can if you want to call it that, a technique. If you can start to cultivate and generate compassion, that is healing in its essence already, in its pure form. Whether you know points, touch. I have a client who has multiple sclerosis and she cannot tap and thumb. And I said, that's okay. Energy doesn't constrain you to a certain format, time or space, and so I want to tie this in with a takeaway to share, something people can start doing today. So find a comfortable position, take a couple of nice deep breaths. It's really important to start out feeling comfortable and relaxed, because then you can receive that energy of compassion even better. And so take a couple of nice deep breaths. And we're going to do something I like to call having a vivid, intimate experience with compassion. So what we're going to do in a moment is I'm going to invite you to flesh out your experience of compassion. So what does that mean? We're going to savor compassion through all of our senses. So what I'd like you to imagine now is if you could see compassion, if compassion, great compassion, had a color, what color would that be? And I want you to turn it up even more. So for example, if your color is white, like that lady, I want you to turn up the brilliance of that white light. Turn it up. intensify it, exaggerate it, really brighten that white light until it embraces and engulfs everything. And there is no limit to it. And now imagine that you can hear compassion. You can listen to compassion. If compassion had a song, a melody, or a sound, what would compassion sound like? And take a moment to savor the sound of compassion. And if you can smell the fragrance of compassion, if you can bottle it up into a perfume bottle or a vial, and you could pop it off and share it with the rest of the world, and everyone took their first whiff of great, pure compassion in its purest form and source, what would be the scent, the smell of compassion for you? And if you could taste compassion, if you could drink compassion, if compassion had a flavor, what would compassion taste like to you? How could you savor compassion in this way? And lastly, if you could touch compassion in its purest form, if compassion had a sensation, a texture, a quality, how would compassion feel like to you? And breathe into that for a moment. And really let that expand out into every single cell and fiber of your being. This intimate, vivid experience of beautiful, pure compassion. And maybe set an anchor, intend that for the rest of today, all of this generated compassionate energy will emanate from your face, anyone who hears your voice, all objects that you touch, from your chair to your bed to your phone, all of that will be imbued with this healing energy of compassion. And take another nice deep breath. And exhale. And open your eyes when you're ready, coming all the way back, feeling really good, really heart-centered. Good job.
Junya, thank you so much for that. It's beautiful how you have really brought compassion in its fullest form to this little Facebook Live, because that's what the weekend is about. Coming up, it's about gratitude and compassion. And our energy healing weekend, it started as a fundraiser because, like a lot of people, we've been struggling, and we needed to find a way to make some money and pay some bills. And when we called you and we called the other teachers, all of you just jumped at the chance to help us. You're in need? Of course we'll help. Of course we'll be there. We want to make it the best weekend ever for everybody, to bring compassion and healing and gratitude and this next step as we all walk into such an unknown. We've been in the unknown with COVID and lockdown and quarantine, and we're still all finding our way. And you and the other teachers like Vishen Lakhiani and Jean Houston and Marcella Lobos and Lee Harris, you all said, yes, yes, we want to bring everything we have to a weekend to help people. And that's what you do. That's what the woman said to you. She said, you touched my head and you changed my life. And that's what this work does. We touch each other with our hands, our electromagnetic hands. We teach others how to touch places on their head and their body and change their life, change their health. And that's what we're That's what we are aiming to do for all of you who are watching next weekend, September 11th, 12th, and 13th. It's 50% off right now, our Energy Healing Weekend. It's a full money back guarantee as well. I want to tell you that. If you come to the weekend and you're like, yeah, it wasn't really for me, I'm not satisfied with it, no questions asked, money back guarantee. Oh, but I also have to tell you, we've added bonuses. And Junia, I don't know if you know this, we added some bonuses to the weekend. So Mom, Donna Eden, said, I'd love to just spend time with the people beyond the weekend. I would love to really meet the people and let them ask me any questions they want. So sometime after September 11th, 12th, and 13th, after that weekend, we'll set up a day with all of you who are registering for the weekend, and you'll get a couple of hours with Donna Eden to ask her whatever you want. It could be about healing. It could be how she healed herself from multiple sclerosis. It can be about what she used to do with clients in her 25-year practice with clients. It can be how she was raised in a small town in California with the cowboys and the cows. It can be anything you want. But we have another bonus as well. We have this wonderful hour-and-a-half long class that you will be able to download called the 9 Energy Systems. And if you have joined us on Facebook Live and you don't know what 9 Energy Systems means, well, we work in 9 energy systems in the body. These energy systems are as real as the endocrine system, as the lymphatic system, as the circulatory system, as the nervous system. They're your energy systems, the chakras, the meridians, the Celtic weave, the aura, the radiant circuits, 9 of them. And you'll be able to have that hour-and-a-half download as a bonus for signing up for the weekend. So you will also get all of the recordings. If there are times next weekend where you're already busy and you know you can't make it, you will receive all of the recordings. So no worries, you'll get it all. But right now, I would like to thank you, Junia. Your gratitude is palpable. For you to tell us that the llamas have blessed our weekend and that they're also reaching out and buying all of their own tickets so they can support us at a time that has really been challenging for everybody, including us. Thank them for us. Tell them thank you. And this is my big hug for the llamas. and we'll be giving them lots of love throughout next weekend. And we so appreciate you. We appreciate all of you who are watching us right now on Facebook. And you know, Facebook gets a bad rap for solid reasons, but these are the great moments to really drink in Facebook and what it can do and connect all of us. And we're so happy you're connecting with us. We're connecting with you. And we hope you have a beautiful weekend, a Labor Day weekend here in America, in the United States. So a 3-day weekend for many of you. We hope that's beautiful for you. And Junia, I will see you next weekend, September 11th, 12th, and 13th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dondi. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.